almost out of time, but we had one last question we wanted to do, and this is a kind of return to Marx and the question of anti-capitalism and resistance. So from Kathy, from your book, we have the increasingly corporate structure of zoos and ecotourism and the uneven global distribution of environmental risk. From our talk just now, I love WALL-E. I love the movie. I own it in its cardboard packaging.
Yes.
But I can't help but feel like it's a bad joke on the consumer that Disney is selling its own kind of pernicious influence on the world to us in the form of entertainment, right? And I have just such a double consciousness about the movie because I enjoy it desperately, but I feel like Disney is selling a movie about itself without acknowledging it. And so, this question that we come back to again and again has been, well, how do we fix the problem of global capitalism that is causing so many of these problems? And some of the people we've been working with, Kim Stanley Robinson in the interview he's doing with us, has suggested that there may be space for an alliance with capitalism, or at least a temporary one. He suggests that in one of his more recent novels. So in a moment of immediate crisis, is there any time left for alternatives to capitalism, or do we have to hold off on that? Is it too late to save the world from capitalism? Do we have to content ourselves with saving the world for capitalism, right? Like saving capitalism from itself so it continues to go. What comes next politically in terms of resistance?
Now that we've talked about theology, we can talk about Marxism. Thought for the day, and it probably amazes Kathy as much as it amazes me that it's possible to imagine the end of the world ecologically quite easily now, but very hard to imagine the end of capitalism. For some reason, it's very difficult for us to visualize that. So that's a paradox there. And I worry, therefore, that apocalypticism is part of what's preventing us from imagining that, actually. And that's a big argument, but I don't think that we're in triage mode. I don't think that we are just kind of trying to scoop up what's left of the bits, because there were no bits, there was no nature. So ultimately there is no problem. There is no problem, ultimately. Of course, we live in a relative world, so there's a big problem. So we're not in triage mode. I think we've only just been born, right? We've only just figured out, hey, wow, we are the world, we are the children. Or rather, my version of it, which would be, we aren't the world, right? Because world kind of disappears too, right? When you start thinking the ecological thought, nature melts, world melts, ontology melts, so you can't have that idea either. It's like go around stealing people's toys, you get really pissed off. And I think, probably capitalism will go through some kind of queer ecological phase in which all of this stuff, and then there'll be a huge queer ecological bubble. I'm serious. I think that's going to be the next big. And so I'm with Zizek thinking that, and Badiou, ecology is probably the next way in which capitalism, forms itself and sells itself and all that stuff. But I profoundly disagree with them that that's all it's going to be. I think ecology is intrinsically thinking post-capitalism. There's something after that, and we don't know what that is yet completely. Or rather, perhaps we do. Maybe the manual is right, and after this we have socialism. But kind of maybe ecology is how you get there. And your footnote question, which I desperately want to talk about because it's very interesting to me, about Zizek saying that basically environmentalists are on my side because they're all crypto-Leninists who want to basically change the world, as you've so beautifully put it, total control over its processes or the political technological power to maintain a human-friendly equilibrium state. I think you could read that the other way around. You could do a little Zizek on Zizek there and say this proves that Lenin is a reactionary. Actually, this also proves that Lenin is committed to a concept of the human, which is another one of those concepts that's just melted. Not that I'm a post-humanist, because I think in a way post-humanism is a kind of humanism. What humanism isn't post-human, in a way? Transhumanism, we can put cell phones in our bodies with sellotape or become these super beings. It's always about being better than animals. It's always about being cool. And I want to be lame. I think ecology should be about learning how to be totally lame and confused and depressed. I'm justifying my existence. So I don't agree with Nordhaus and Schellenberger that environmentalism is dead long live capitalism, and we just have to kind of compromise with it, and you know. And I put solar panels on my roof, and the only reason I can is because I can lease them, because they don't cost 18 grand, because you can, check this out, it's a really good deal. You can pay $90 a month to have, you know, 18 panels on your roof, because they're now leasing the older panels, yeah, because soon there's going to be like new panels, so it's a clever little niche there that people are getting into. So, yeah, I don't think we're in triage mode. I think we're just finding out what this is. And my job, in a very local part of this, you know, I mean, clearly the answer, form a people's army and seize control of the state. But like, you know, my little job at the moment is keeping that window open, because very soon the ontological window is going to close, and we're going to be in another phase of this puppy, yeah? And we're not going to know anything anymore for another however many years, yeah? So my job is to like keep the window open and go, wait, there's nothing there. You know, like the 13th floor, you know, there's nothing, there's this weird grey envelope of nothing. You know, it's all empty. Just kind of point that out, you know, loudly enough so maybe one more person understands it.